Hi, I'm Daniel, and the Animaniacs Reboot that came out last year on an American streaming service so I had. Anyway, it got overall great reviews and I personally disagree. I wouldn't say I dislike it, but that is mainly because the Pinky and the Brain segments are 8 out of 10 and the Warner segments are 4 out of 10. So it equals out to a 6 out of 10. It has a lot of problems in my opinion, but they can be separated into 3 parts. And I'll talk about Pinky and the Brain as part 4. Part 1. Character Portrayals. One of the main problems with the reboot is that the Warners, more Yakko and not really Wacko, no longer act like kids. It might be because the lines were written slightly differently or the voice of Yakko and not being slightly off, but they no longer have that kid-like innocence. They are practically adults, so them annoying human characters doesn't quite feel mean-spirited, but uses what made it entertaining in the original. In the main segments, are there any more characters? Well, aside from one episode, Scratch and Sniff has been removed, which is a shame because he's one of the best characters. He is someone to interact to the Warner's antics, but now they're just being annoying on their own, which doesn't have the same impact. In the intro, Ralph replaced Scratch and Sniff, so maybe he'll get more screen time and characterization. No, he's just there without appearing much. There's a new CEO, maybe she'll do anything? No. This is probably because there is no point in saying this on Warner Bros. Studios, but I'll get into that later. Originally there were loads of segments, but they were all cut. On one hand, most of them weren't that good, aside from Siappy and occasionally Rita and Runt, but they used it the variety of the show that gave it the title of Animaniacs. It was mentioned in one episode, which was probably one of the better ones. Even though I don't get the Chicken Boo hate when he is one of the better of the other characters. To be honest, it will be fine removing all of these, because it will be hard to write a show which is 5 in 1, and having to reintroduce them all to new and old viewers and introduce the new setting. But the claim is because these characters aren't correct today. For example, how is Runt offensive? Isn't not including characters like this more offensive? But I kind of all going into that debate now. Part 2, Lack of Story. Throughout the episodes, there isn't a consistent story structure or any type of consistency. In the first episode, they are getting used to the modern Warner Bros. Setting and all of the changes that happened throughout the years when they were gone. This would be very genetic, but it could be a good way to set a show, even though this cliche is one of the reasons the Futurama revival era is as good, if not better, because it dropped this story setup. However, that whole thing wasn't even the main plot again, and the episode just a random things happening. Sometimes the Warners are meeting new characters both in present day and the past sometimes. Occasionally even breaking the fourth wall. Having so much variety in the first episode of a show is a problem because the Warners just doing random things before we even get to know them as characters. In the original this also happens, but does in a more consistent way in how they do it. It also helped that not every episode needed a 4am Warner segment. Every episode follows a pattern of an 11-minute Warner segment and an 11-minute Pinky and the Brain segment, which surprisingly gets old harder despite it being formulaic, and the short, which are weird. It seems like a homage to the original variety of Yemps, but it doesn't work because most of these shorts are just there without anything to make it memorable. Then there is original shorts. One is literally Mindy and the Brain from the episode where they spot rolls, and there is one about a gnome in people's mouths, and I don't know whether I like or not. The gnome one could have worked those more segments so it had time to get used to this concept, kind of like Chicken Boo, but it doesn't. Back to the repetition, this show is bad to binge, which is the reason I didn't review it when it first came out. That, and I wanted it to be a bigger video. This show is clearly meant to be a weekly show, which could be why, but the original show isn't as bad to binge, though I don't know what the problem is. I blame the consistent time Yems compared to the original's consistently inconsistent one. The Warner segments are also really boring, and I wanted to skip the Pinky and the Brain when I first watched it, and that's the reason why I didn't rewatch all the episodes, I just rewatched some of the important ones. Part 3, Moderness and Political References. Okay, yes, the original show also referenced modern culture and politics, but it did it in a good way, while this doesn't. Let me explain. One difference is that in the original, it wasn't the only type of joke or even most. While in the reboot, mostly ones but also Pinky and the Brain to an extent, most of the comedy is referencing things that exist in current time. Another problem with the modern referencing in the reboot is that you need to know what it's on about to get the joke or allegory. The original show still holds up today, even if you don't get all the references, while this will be outdated in 3 years probably. Some bits are outdated now, like the fidget spinner factory. Seriously, 1. The show was made in 2018 and it was outdated then. 2. It isn't that hard to predict that fidget spinners will be outdated soon. They managed to predict that we will wear masks in 2020. This shouldn't be that hard. And yes, they added the mask thing in the last minute to make the audience think they predicted it. Also, the basic humour and themes is picking sides in a way the original didn't, or didn't do it as on the nose. For example, the Born Violence episode, which did have a cool fight scene in another art style, but aside from that, the whole thing is a preachy mess that is a bad allegory for gun control. There was also this Russian episode which speaks for itself. In both these cases, it was acknowledged to be a bit too far, but acknowledging problems doesn't automatically make them go away. A show that does modern and political things well is The Amazing World of Gumball. The best has commentary on cancel culture not giving people a second chance, and contests on who can be the most horrible person on the internet, but still works on the surface level as an episode. Sure, it could be seen as a bit one-sided, but it isn't overly preachy about the message, which is a big difference. Another example, The Nuisance, which can work without knowing who this guy is supposed to be. You can't say the same about the Animaniacs Reboot. It annoys me that there are complaints about Gumball getting too political in seasons 5 and 6, when it doesn't. It's just that people see entertainment as escapism, so they think it's a genuine problem mentioning anything in the real world. What was I talking about again? I'll need to talk about Gumball more another time. Finally, the songs are mediocre, and our first step was common, but they barely appear after the second episode. I'm gonna talk about the reboot this song, because it annoys me when reboots as a whole are called bad, when it's not the thing itself that's the problem, it's what people do with reboots. This song makes me think the show was made for only money and nostalgia, which is supported by the actual show not being that good. Also, the song is just the worst version of we're doing a sequel for Muppets Most Wanted. I'm going to move on to good segments now. Part 4, Pinky and the Brain. To start off, both the characters are portrayed amazingly because they are the same as they used to be but in newer situations. The stories continue the plot of Brain trying to take over the world excellently, and having a formula is way better than whatever the main segments are doing. It also occasionally takes itself seriously compared to the Warners who seem to not be able to in the reboot. The best episode in the entire first season is Future Brain for how it mentions the popular fan theory of Pinky pretending to be dumb to stop Brain without confirming or denying it. The episode also has some emotional moments, from giving a reason why Brain keeps Pinky around despite him being a nuisance. The Brain also got a backstory and reason why taking over the world in one episode, and I'm surprised it took this long. I haven't seen Pinky and the Brain spin-off show, for him to get a reason why he wants to take over the world. And it's a pretty great way to flesh out the character. Pinky and the Brain as characters seem to fit the modern setting well compared to the Warners. Pinky and the Brain should have just gone its own show, because it's sandwiched in between the Warner episode and a short. It's not spectacular, the comedy mostly isn't that funny, and it doesn't have much good new characters, but it's still a great half of a show. Part 5, Conclusion. In conclusion, there was this big controversy because the original creator wasn't involved, and while yes, this could be a reason why this reboot fails in my opinion, this shouldn't be an excuse because there is multiple people involved with a piece of media, not just one person. Anyway, this reboot was not good for its mediocre incorporation of modern culture. the character portrayals being off, and the writing being bad and inconsistent. I don't think it's bad because of the Pinky in the Brain segment, and although it took time to get used to, the animation looks great. I would recommend it to all fans to see what you think of it and to form your own opinion, but there is nothing for new viewers because it doesn't explain what the Warners are or have their origin put in the first episode like the original did. I think it definitely could get better throughout more seasons if they find what to do right, but considering all the good reviews, I wouldn't be surprised if they keep doing what they're doing, which will probably end up making the show worse because this season got worse as it went along. However, I am probably wrong because it got solid reviews from critics and audiences, new and old viewers. And that's good that so many people got enjoyment out of this. I just wanted to add to the discussion and say my own opinion. Well, at least it's better than a good feather segment from the original. The end.